Ty Bartell, Anthony Hartwig with another edition of Coach's Corner. We go to the Portage County legend himself from Garrettsville, Garfield, and Mr. Aaron Gilbert of that girls basketball program. Coach, how we doing today?
Great. I appreciate you guys having me again.
Oh, Coach, it's always a great time talking hoops with you. And you talk about the practices that you've been able to have with this girls squad too. You've had a few now under your belt. What do you see? And I know there's some exciting players coming back this year, but you lost a little bit from last year. But what are practices looking
Yeah,
like?
just lost just a little bit, We're young. We're young. I was actually talking with the assistant coaches this year. It's probably the youngest team we've had since 2018 from a returning standpoint. Really only returning one starter and one other player that saw quality varsity minutes throughout the year. So a lot of inexperience, a lot of youth. But the nice thing with that youth is I think it's a pretty talented group. This group as eighth graders, won the MVAC. So coming in now as sophomores, they've got a little bit of that experience playing together, and a lot of them are back together for this year. So it'll definitely look different. Probably not as high firepower that we've had in the past. Right now, we're still kind of working out some of the kinks to figure out what do we do well, and we scrimmage this upcoming Saturday, so that'll be a nice little measuring stick.
Coach, I know you're being a little cautiously optimistic with this group, but for years Garfield has been saying, like, off season, people outside been saying, "Oh, they lost this, they lost this, they lost this." But here you come the next year, you're winning the league, you're winning the district, you're making tournament runs. So this year, once again, you lose some people. We said it. What is it about this program that keeps this standard there, no matter who's coming up into the next role?
I think part of it is just the consistency with staff. With me being around now for as long as I have been, my assistants have been with me for many years. My one assistant, in fact, was on my very first team here 17 years ago. So she's been around the program. So I think that consistency, we don't have to teach the coaches the philosophy and the expectations. We just need to teach the players that. And I think the players kind of understand that growing up and getting that at the junior high level and then coming into the high school levels, they just kind of understand what we're expecting of them. This isn't a rec league. This isn't just coming out. I don't want to say it's not just for fun because we do want them to have fun with it, but, winning's fun too, So, I read a great quote that I thought was very appropriate. You always see the shirts, expectations never graduate, tradition never graduates, culture never graduates. And I think that has been our last 10 years that we've had. It's been the culture that was created 10 years ago by a group that set the standard. You hear coaches now refer to the standard as the standard. Our standard is expected of competing at the district level, competing for a league, and moving on from there. Do we talk about that? Absolutely not, which people are going to be like, yeah, right, whatever. No, we don't mention title chases. We don't mention district runs. We just mention, are you getting better? That 1% rule, we really focus on working with the players and looking at their development from game 1 to game 23, 24, 25, whatever it may get to.
Oh, Coach, I mean, now that we kind of have our expectations, we know what the standard is. What are some of the names that Lady G-Men fans can expect to see on the court, that beautiful court this season?
Yeah, with new sponsorship this year too, with Sarchone on the court this year with buying our dealership in town. So it'll have a little different twist to it this year. But of course, the focus is going to be with Mandy. She's the main returning player coming off of a stellar freshman year. She had a great supporting cast last year that kind of allowed her to be her, and maybe not totally allow her to show off all her talents and abilities. And this year, it's definitely going to be on full display. She had a great AAU spring and summer with the SMAC program that she plays with. And, a lot is going to fall on her shoulders. So the biggest part is for coaches is we've got to take some of that load off of her, and we've got plenty of people to help her. It's going to have to come in waves. It's not going to be one player or two players. It's going to have to be, 5, 6, 7 players. I think we're going to go a little deeper this year, possibly into the bench than we have in the past, which gives more players opportunity. But again, we're going to be our subs are going to be sophomores. We're going to be bringing a lot of youth off the bench, getting that quality time that, the first 10 games may be a little bit rough, but hopefully those last 10 plus, that pays off. But, Zoe May coming back as well. She had a great summer for us, shooting the ball. She, again, another player that saw some minutes, and her role really doesn't change from last year, which I think is important. Another senior, Callie Tasker, coming back. Callie's kind of the brains of the operation. She really gets people lined up and going where they need to go on the floor, which I really appreciate. And then, we're junior class, we're a little thin. We only have 2 juniors. And right now one, we're waiting to get some results back from, but, Colby Fresh, she's going to step in and see some roles. But the rest is going to be all sophomores. You're going to have Carly Clellan coming in. You're going to have Riley Grace. You're going to have Kaylin Tasker. You're going to have Annie Rado coming in. It's going to be, kind of a different group. I don't know, outside of Mandy, it's not going to be a lot of name recognition like we've had in the past. And then, another a senior that we have that I failed to mention, Gabe Groves. Gabe had a tremendous volleyball season, and she's just a really athletic player. And now it's just trying to find what piece does she fit in with us.
Coach, before we talk about your schedule, which I'm excited to talk about, one question I have to ask about this roster and the team that you have. For the majority of them, they were still, on the bench, and they saw that district run that you had last year, and they saw the standard it took. What kind of things can you say about them being hungry that it's their turn now to go and do the same thing?
I think, and I mentioned this the other day, for the first time in many, many years, we have legitimate open spots. Like, we've had returning players, we've had, positions that people kind of slide into. Mandy's the one that, we know we have that, but those 4, maybe even 3 other positions, it's really competitive to who's going to get those spots. And I've told them, I said, we might not have, for the first time in a long time, the same starting 5 every single night. It might change based on lineups. It might change based on who's playing well. It might change on matchups with the other team. So I truly feel that practices are competitive, and we've got some hungry kids. We've got some kids that I haven't seen that fire in the younger kids in a long time, because I think the younger kids really felt, oh, there's a junior, senior ahead of me. There's no chance. That person's been playing for a couple of years. Now there's nobody in front of you. It's your spot if you want it. If you prove it to us, it's yours.
Coach, I'm excited to talk about Mandy Cardinal just for a second, because I think she has the potential to really have a great career as she continues to develop. How exciting is it for the conference play this season? And you compare it with talking about the conference, but I mean, you look, Lavraine Gaskins at Crestview, Carly Easterday coming back for champion, LaBrea has some up-and-coming post players. She's going to be challenged, and she's going to be tested in this conference. What is she going to need to do to continue to find success against so many good challengers?
Yeah, this conference is a grind. I mean, there are no easy games. There are no nights off. I think this year, kind of unlike last year, where I felt that, us and Crestview kind of distanced ourselves from the majority of the league throughout the year, I don't think that's the case this year. I think there's 4, maybe even 5 of us that are all going to be – we might cannibalize each other, and you might win the league with 3 losses. I mean, Crestview obviously has the roster and the talent. Champion's got unbelievable talent over there. Mike does a great job with those girls. And then you've got, LaBrea's young and hungry. Brookfield, new coach. Liberty, new coach. Newton Falls, that Mark's going to sit in that 2-3, and if you can't shoot, you're going to lose. So it's going to be. I think you're going to see a roller coaster throughout the year, that you're going to see some upsets. You're going to see some teams beating teams that people are going to click onto your score or click onto your YSN feed and be like, wow, this is a surprisingly close game. I just don't think that there's that big of a distance between everybody that there's been the last two years.
Coach, let's talk about the non-conference, because as tough as your conference is, you don't shy away from a tough
nobody was nice.
schedule
Yeah,
either.
nobody was nice to us this year with our non-conference. I got to talk to Fish over at South Range about that.
Yeah. Who you got this year? Who pops up on your schedule non-conference?
Open up with Crestwood right down the road, which we haven't played in a couple years outside of a tournament. So that's kind of a nice thing. And then we end the year with another PTC team with Rootstown, who is absolutely loaded. So that'll be a nice game right before we get into tournament play at the end of the year. So start with an old PTC team and end with an old PTC team. Non-conference wise, we still have some teams. We picked Badger up this year. And obviously, they've had tremendous success the last couple of years, Grexa and the players that they've had. Bristol's on the up and up. Randy's doing a great job over there. We played them real early. Got Hubbard again. And then, like I said, we go to South Range, and we get to play Fitch and Struthers. So, it's changed a couple times. I know they've had some teams move in and move out of that holiday situation. But, that is definitely over Christmas. That's going to be – I looked at Fitch's schedule, and they're probably just happy to play us based on who they're playing in that month, because they have a grind and a half. We might be their breather game. The tournament has changed things. The playoff system has changed things, and with everybody getting in, losses don't hurt you. Whatever, it just makes you better. Even with football, there's 4 and 6 teams getting in the playoffs, making a run. I think was it St. Henry or one of the MAC schools got in the playoffs at like 2 and whatever, and now they're playing in the regional finals or something down there. So, I mean, you can make a run, but it's just going to make you better. I mean, some people just chase wins. What's the difference of going 18-4 and getting knocked off in your sectional opener, or going 14-10 and making a 3 to 4 game tournament run? I mean, I don't know. I'd much rather make that tournament run than do that 18-4 and get beat in the sectional game. So, we have not shied away conference-wise or non-conference-wise over the years. And then with the new conference, it's just, like I said, there are no nights off. It's you got to bring it every single night.
We're really excited to see the competition you guys will face this season. You mentioned your staff, though, a little bit earlier, and I know you say it's consistent, but I'm all right with consistently giving the same guys a lot of love, guys and girls. So why don't you go ahead and shout out the Garfield G-Men staff this season?
Yeah, coming back with us again this year. Andy Cardinal's gonna help us out, and he was on staff well before I had Mandy. So everybody's like, "Oh, you got Dad on the staff now." Well, before Mandy was here, we had Andy. In fact, Andy's the only person I coached against that I've hired. He was a coach at Cardinal my first couple of years here, and then got out of coaching, and I needed a position filled several years ago at the junior high level, and then he kind of moved up and been varsity-wise the last couple of years. It's nice to have another former head coach on the bench just for game management. Madison Hartong's back again. She played at Rootstown, coached against her. 13, 14, somewhere around there. I lose track of time. I'm too old now to remember all these players. But Maddie handles our JVs. And then Taylor Smith is back again. She's been with us probably the longest. She's been with me since I think 2014, but she was on my first team. She was a senior on that team back in 2008 when we started this whole thing. It's just, the girls mesh with the coaches mesh with the players. I just think we've got a great chemistry where we can banter back and forth, and nobody's afraid to give their opinion and to step on feet. I'll take, the advice at times. I don't always listen to them, as they'll tell you, but they do see things differently. And I think the girls have good shoulders that they can talk to and know that their concerns will be heard and they are valued and appreciated within the program.
Coach, one of the things that I have to ask about before we let you go, we watch a lot of Garfield football. Obviously, they're still on and we heard a familiar voice on the airways calling those Garfield home games. What was that like putting the headset on?
I love it. I really do. I got out of coaching football a couple years ago. It's just a time thing, and jumped over to the soccer side. But the commentary, I love doing that. It keeps me around with the kids. I just enjoy it. I mean, I know I've gotten a couple people have said, if the game is going a certain way, I tend to kind of veer off in a certain direction sometimes, maybe not the most, but it's the home team field. A home team feed. You don't like that, turn over to the visiting team feed. Right. So, whatever. But, I did it for the boys basketball as well for a couple years, and now the students are starting to get a little bit more involved, but I'm not giving up the football. I just enjoy doing that and having some football background. it's easy to kind of, say some things and see some things. And then again, just having that connection with the players. We've gotten emails from grandparents that are out of state that just say, thank you for doing this. And you guys will attest to this. It's not easy. It's not easy, especially when the other team doesn't give you a roster, or they give you a roster that have numbers that don't match. Or I'm sure you've seen this as well, when they flip the names and do last name, then first name, and you're the kid's name, and you're like, wait, that's hold up. This is name. So I'm sure you guys have experienced that as well.
Or the one that drives me crazy too is they're not in numerical order, so you have to search for number 10.
By grade. They put all the seniors and the juniors. I don't know, just number 1 through 99. It's not really that hard. So I've learned my lesson. I'll go down sometimes and talk to the coach and say, hey, or their person that's in the box and say, give me some pronunciation on this kid's name, because I know otherwise that somebody's going to be letting me know that I'm butchering their name. But it's a good time, and definitely not as easy as what people can make it appear. But it's also kind of hard when you're by yourself, because sometimes you got a lot of time to fill. Like if there's a penalty that nobody can figure out, and you're just sitting there going, you can only go to break so many times, and break. We'll be back in 30. Click. Okay, we're not back yet. Now what do we do? But I do enjoy that. I don't know. Maybe once I'm done, that's what I go and do.
There's always a chair open for you on YSN.
Hey, I would love,
Coach. I would take you.
I don't know how many. You might lose some viewership if I'm doing your YSN games. I got enough enemies in this county, so it's
No, Coach. I love that you take all that too, and you always make the Garfield rosters nice and clean. They're one of the best, I think, most organized.
Speaking from experience, I know what I don't like to read, so I try to make it easy on you guys as well. So
yeah, no doubt, Coach. My final question for you today, before we let you go, Coach. It's kind of a theme I've been asking all head coaches this year. It goes back to the love of the game. Now, I know you are involved and love a lot of sports too, but basketball in particular, it's the love for the sport that keeps us coming back. It's what got us started, right? Where'd the love for the sport of basketball begin for you? What's some of your earliest memories, or do you have like a pinpoint of when you fell in love with it?
Wow. I don't know. I always kind of felt that I felt, even though my dad was a high school football coach for years, I played football and stuff, but basketball just became that niche for me. I don't know what it was about the game. I think from the coaching standpoint, I drove me more to it just because I saw all the people and opinions that my dad had to deal with on the football side. There's a little less people and opinions on the basketball side, but there's something about it. There was one year I didn't coach basketball and I missed it so much. Just the chess match that takes place, my brain versus your brain, my X's and O's versus your X's and O's, me putting my players in position versus you putting your players in position. Something about it. I don't know what it is. I can definitely tell you, if you talk to my parents, the coach that I am and the player that I am are vastly different. I was not a very good player. I know that I was not a very good player. I think I'm a much better coach. I also have much more fire. Those of you who have come to the games, you've seen me running and jumping and screaming and yelling during the game. I did not play that way at all. But the girls love it. The kids love it. It gets them fired up. So it's like, okay, if I make a fool of myself, I'll make a fool of myself for you. But there's just something about the game, something about a gym on Friday night, something about the pep band or the music blasting in the gym. It's just the whole high school sports period. There's something about it. And once high school sports are over, you kind of realize, man, that was, I coached in college. It is not the same. It is not the same on a Saturday afternoon versus a Friday night. So, hopefully I'll be around for many, many more, going into year 17 here, year 20 as a head coach. It's hard to believe that, 20 years
right around the corner.
Yeah.
Coach, we're hoping at least once we can see you pull off a gritty again this year.
Dude,
that was the highlight of the year.
If I get to the point, there's one reason I do that. If I get to that point this year, you might see more than a gritty. I mean, I definitely will be, the one, going back to this team, God, they work, not that other teams didn't, but I do like the hunger. And we'll see. I mean, it's going to be different, but we'll see how it all shakes out. But I truly appreciate your guys' support, going to the games, broadcasting games, and more importantly, promoting the kids. You guys do more to promote the kids than a lot of people in the area. and I don't think people truly understand. It's A, not easy, but B, the gold mine that you guys have with being able to promote our kids to the state, because social media goes out to the state. It doesn't just go out to Northeast Ohio.
Well, Coach, the thing I know too, being in Portage County, is that there's always been a hunger for coverage out here, and you guys kind of get left in the dark at some points too. So we're just happy to have Garrettsville Garfield as a school on with us too. We love coaches like yourself as part of part of the brand, and we just love representing you and your kids as well. As I know you guys have a good student crowd that does all your games at home, but I'm sure Anthony and I will catch you on the road more than once this season.
Oh yeah, we're looking forward to it.
All right, Coach. Thank you so much for your time. This has been a first edition of Coach's Corner with the man himself, Aaron Gilbert from Garrettsville Garfield.
Thanks, guys.